Hey guys, welcome back. This is my spoiler review for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And so I'm going to get right into spoilers straight away, so spoilers, because I'm going to spoil everything straight off the bat. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or should I call it Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Cameos? But twist, there weren't even that many cameos, except for that one cameo, which no one expected, except that everybody expected. But where was Tom Cruise? No Tom Cruise, worst part of the film. Everything else, absolutely loved it. Loved this film so much. Multiverse of Madness is just that. It's madness. It's utter insanity. It's unbridled Sam Raimi. It's pure Sam Raimi. The first thing I noticed almost as soon as the film started, but just as it kept going and going and going, I'm just like, oh, I knew that Sam Raimi directing, it would like have little bits and pieces of like his directorial style and feeling and just this atmosphere that he brings like as a creator and as a director. But what I didn't expect is the whole film is the most Sam Raimi thing I've ever seen in my life. It's so Evil Dead-y. It's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean it's Evil Dead-y? This is Marvel. Marvel grab a creator and they can still put like their little flourish on it. But you know, James Gunn's like, oh, it's all James Gunny. But the third act's always like, yeah, but like a Marvel movie. This movie is just utter Sam Raimi nonsense. And the first thing is like the camera. The camera's moving and swirling and spinning. There's so much character and emotion and feeling and like energy to the camera. It's always doing something. Like instead of having a wide shot, then a close-up of someone's face, it like comes in on someone's face. There's always these close-ups of eyeballs and just so many close-ups of faces and things. We have some of the most crazy things. We have like fade in and out transitions with things going on. There was just so many moments in this film. Almost every moment in this film was just like a director directed this movie. This isn't being directed by Marvel, even though I'm sure they had the grimy little hands in it. But there were so many moments where I was just like, there is an undead Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is in his body, inhabiting this undead Doctor Strange, and there's all these demons coming in and out of him, and they're all like, I'm a little demon boy. And I'm like, what is going on? There were so many just crazy, interesting shots, so many point of view shots. There are points where Wanda is like lurking around the house, being creepy around her kids, and the camera like pans from her point of view and back, and I'm like, it's like the Evil Dead entity of Evil Deadness. Like, what is going on? We've got a big magical book, like it's a Necronomicon, but it's called some other thing. Who gives a shit? I'm just going to call it the Necronomicon because I'm too hyped and excited by this movie. I've completely forgotten what the Book of Doom and Destruction and Dread is in this movie. Sam Raimi's style and direction and just feeling and mood about this thing is so prevalent. It kind of wowed me just on every level. Like every moment I was just like, what? This is so inventive and insane and creative. There were so many fantastic moments of dread and suspense, but it was kind of goofy and insane. Like Wanda... Alright, I'll get back to Sam Raimi, but Wanda. Wanda was the big thing of this movie. I know why they didn't call it this, but this movie should have been called Wanda in the Multiverse of Madness, in brackets, she's mad, real mad. I could not believe that she actually was evil. Like, WandaVision was a really interesting show. Ralph Boner jokes, let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. But WandaVision was a really interesting show at first, and then they completely dropped the ball in the finale because they're like, oh, Wanda, oh, you did all these bad things and you were super evil, but actually, yeah, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. You're actually a main character and you're super good. No, she's in this movie just full on evil, and I never thought they would actually take that step and make her a villain. Like, she always appears in Age of Ultron and she's all like, and just like, ooh, evil dreams, ooh, I'm an evil witch, But then she's like, oh, actually, I love Vision and action. But then she's like, oh, I love Vision and, you know, I'm actually just a good guy. Avengers, I'm an Avenger. Boom, bum, 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 you know, and she's all like, yeah. In this movie, no. This is mostly a sequel to WandaVision, not a sequel to Doctor Strange. I just saw Doctor Strange. It's barely mentioned. It's not mentioned at all. They mentioned Spider-Man like once and they're like, he shoots webs out of his butt. And he's like, I hope not. Also, speaking of cameos, there should have been cameos. They did have a joke where it was like, Spider-Man, what does he shoot webs out of his butt? That's so weird. Absolutely should have had a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man appear and he shoots webs out of his butt. That would have been incredible. That and Tom Cruise as Iron Man should have been in this film. Don't know why they went in this film. This film was not the cameo slugfest crazy multiverse of cameos that we all thought it would be. There are definitely some cameos, but they almost feel like just full characters in this movie. And yeah, like, where was Chris Evans? And they were like, oh my god, it's Captain America. And he's like, flame on! Let's be some babes, dude. And they were like, oh god, this guy sucks. There was none of that. I'm a little bit disappointed, but what the film does give us is crazy. Before I get lost in a whole thing about the Illuminati and all the cameos and all the craziness, Wanda. Wanda is the best character in this movie. Right from the get-go, she's all in like a lovely field of apples and she's got her kids, but it's a dream, oh no! And she's got, you're seeing the character and you're like, oh yeah, this makes sense from the character we saw at the end of WandaVision. And then she just goes, magic, 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 and everything goes red and everything's rotten and dead. And then she's like, I got the Necronomicon book, the book of dread and doom and destruction, and I'm evil now. But then she goes full evil. Like, I cannot believe how evil she went. There are moments of such horror and just terror. Like, she is so OP and terrifying. Like, people could be like, who's the strongest Avenger? It's Wanda. Wanda killed, like, everybody at the Doctor Strange's Carmitage place. Killed so many sorceress peoples, and one gets away, but so many of them get murdered. It's so brutal and savage, but there's some really interesting visuals and just crazy stuff. She is so crazy. There is even one scene where she's like falling down a tunnel and there's like drips of water everywhere and it's very spooky, and she's all like and she's like tearing herself apart. She's all bloody and just completely scary. Then like it all goes quiet and you hear the drops of water. It's like just such great suspense and insane. This film kind of feels like it got as dark and gruesome and horrible as any Marvel film can, because 6-year-old people, like 6-year-old children, go to see this film. 6-year-olds are not going to like seeing the Illuminati or get absolutely slaughtered by Wanda. She kills so many people in this movie. It is crazy to me that they went, we're going to make her the villain. I've always wanted them to do this with a character. She started out as a villain, and from WandaVision's biggest issue was just being like, no, she's not actually a villain, she's actually good. But this film's like, no. She's a villain, that was the stepping stone, and here we are. And then the film ends with, hopefully, her death. I just felt like such a complete, amazing arc. And what's so great is it's not just like, oh, she's evil and magical, and she's the most OP villain ever. She has motive. Her villain, motivation is so tragic. It's so depressing. It's so kind of understandable. You can so see where she's coming. She, the Scarlet Witch, is the only Wanda in the whole of the multiverse who doesn't have children. Oh, when that happened, I was like, oh my God, if I had a soul, I would be crying right now. That is so beautiful. That is so heartbreaking. That is so tragic. It is so good because she made up, Doctor Strange keeps saying like, you don't have kids. They were an illusion. She's like, and he's like, they're made out of magic. And she's like, that's what every mother does. She makes them with her magic. And I'm like, that's fun little planned words there. I like that. But no, actually, Wanda, in every other multiverse, literally all billion, 100,000, bagillion of them, she has kids. But that doesn't really make sense for the whole multiverse because, the multiverse makes sense. In this, one thing about the multiverse in this is like, it's mostly like Doctor Strange, you're just a bit more of a dick in this one. And Doctor Strange, there's more plants everywhere, but you're a bit of a dick in this. And, we've got different characters. We've got the Fantastic Four here, all this kind of stuff. I would have liked to see a little bit more variation rather than that moment where they go boom, 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 and just flash through a bunch of them. There was some really fun stuff like, oh, it's an animated, oh, there's dinosaurs in the background, oh, it's all paint, and they're all like, ruggedy, squibbity. It's fun to see it very briefly, but I'm going to have to go on YouTube and slow it down and see someone go through frame by frame and be like, well, this universe actually means this. I wanted to see a little bit more. I would have liked them to go full insane. Like, I don't know, what properties does Disney own where we could have seen flashes? Like, could have they smashed through Hogwarts for 5 seconds and there's like someone with a sorting hat being like, oh my gosh, what is happening? What kind of magic is this? Maybe that's way too far, but I feel like this could have gone really extreme. Like, I would have loved to see for 5 seconds a universe where every single person in the universe was Doctor Strange, like Rick and Morty style. Like, let's get crazy with this. Because if the multiverse existed, there's a universe where I'm Doctor Strange, where you're Doctor Strange, where we're both Doctor Strange, where no one's Doctor Strange. But in this, it's just like, it's Benedict Cumberbatch, but his hair's got white lines here, not here. Like, that's the difference. So Wanda, they go full villain. It's super satisfying. Her entire arc is so emotional. She comes in, she meets one of herself. She keeps jumping onto her own body and doing all this crazy magical stuff. Also, I just love the idea of like, each multiverse, like you can see inside that multiverse and that's your dreams. Like every time you have a dream, that's one of your multiverses, which is such an interesting, bizarre kind of concept, which I really loved. And then America Chavez, our new character, who was awesome with awesome powers, great character, really loved her little mini arc of, coming to her own and realizing she's actually been doing the right thing all this time. And, it's a bit cliche and stuff, but she did a really great job. It was really sincere and sweet and nice. And her powers were awesome. Her kind of doing those punches at the end with WandaVision was great, but then she realized, I can't beat WandaVision. I'm going to have to show WandaVision she can't be WandaVision. I'm calling it WandaVision, not Wanda. Wanda Maximoff? That's it. I'm just going to call her WandaVision because that... And I love how it ends where it's not just her being like, oh, Doctor Strange told me I'm the strongest person in the world and I'm super, super strong. And she punches Wanda and she's like, take that, WandaVision. But then she shows Wanda, other version of Wanda, and she's like, actually, your kids think you're a monster. And that scene was amazing. I love the kid just throwing stuff like, she's a witch! Kill the witch! Oh, she's there screaming and hiding behind like the things and she's like, oh my God, I am a monster, but I don't want to be a monster. I've gone way too far. I thought it was a really nice thing. And then she's like, actually, I'm going to destroy the Book of Necronomicon, whatever the hell they called it, and I'm going to crush myself and die. And it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe they killed her. Marvel keep killing all the main great female characters in the Avengers. But in this one, it felt really satisfying. It felt really complete. Really, this film is Wanda and the Multiverse of Madness in the Multiverse of Madness. Oh no, we're stuck in the Multiverse of Madness, but really just like two multiverses. Like, not many multiverses. Doctor Strange, does he get an arc? Not really. For bits, he's like, are you happy? And he's like, well, I don't know. That's a tough question. He doesn't really get an arc. What accent was that? He doesn't really get an arc, but who cares? When there's so much crazy madness going on, who cares? The film immediately starts with a random Doctor Strange from another universe trying to kill America Chavez, and there's a big book, and there's like a squid demon monster of destruction and doom just flying about, and it's just absolutely crazy. And then like 5 minutes later, Doctor Strange is fighting a giant tentacle kraken monster. I mean, my YouTube channel is called Space Kraken, so you can probably understand a giant monster kraken monster from potentially outer space is my jam. And if that's like the least interesting part of your movie, you're doing all right, movie. Jesus, it was crazy. The movie was just so crazy. Like, I can't even handle it. It was so much. Like, I feel like this is something I'm just going to keep enjoying on repeat viewing because there's so much crazy insanity. Like, just the idea like of Doctor Strange going into another Doctor Strange, but he's evil and undead and he's like mouth rotting and falling apart and he's giving the pep talk where he's like, America Chavez, you're the new Avenger, you can be the best Avenger you've ever thought of, but his face is like rotting apart and there's demons all over his body and they're all like sucking up WandaVision's magic with the teeth and they're all like, we're demons. Oh my lord, this movie is so much. It's utter insanity and madness. The humor as well felt way more in line with kind of Sam Raimi's humor than it did a Marvel film's kind of, you know, their Marvel generic humor where they're like, it's all quips and, you know, the way Spider-Man No Way Home was. It's like, that's a Marvel movie. It's got a bit of Spider-Man to it, but everyone talks in the same Marvel-y thing. There's a little bit of that, but some of the humor is absurd and insane. When evil Doctor Strange, not from What If, but like a different evil Doctor Strange, he talks with normal Doctor Strange and they have a big Doctor Strange battle fight. Instead of like in What If when they have the big fight, they're like, magical thing, and they're doing all this kind of not generic, but you know, like we've seen it before, magical stuff. This, it's like, he hits a piano, and I'm like, oh, that's funny, because it's like, da-dun! I'm like, oh, that's like the sound you'd hear in the soundtrack, but he's actually hit a piano. But then it's like, he's almost like, oh, music. And then the music starts rising out of notebooks, and he's like, I'm turning the music sounds into power, shooty, thingy, magic stuff. And they're all fighting with music, and they're using the I don't even know how to describe it. This is a spoiler review. You've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. The big magic battle is like the final Doctor Strange climax battle, and it's absurd. I saw it with a mate. He hated it. Of course he did. I reckon half the cinema would have loathed it. I thought it was incredible. It was way too much. It was completely bonkers, insane, hilarious, nonsense. I would just absolutely love to know what Marvel's like scene in this movie that like Marvel made him put in, and they're like, Sam Raimi, you've got to put a scene, you got to put this scene in the movie. And he's like, I'm not putting that. This isn't going to be Venom again. I'm not putting that scene in the movie. You can't make me. And they're like, if you put this scene in the movie that you don't want to, you get one action scene. Like out of the 10 we made you cut, you get one. He's like, the music battle, where they do the music battle at the end, and they're like, damn it, why did we shake? Damn it, okay. Because we have to have this other scene. So we're not happy, Sam Raimi. No one's gonna like this. I loved it. So this film, being directed by Sam Raimi, of course, has Bruce Campbell of Evil Dead fame. Bruce Campbell, he appears. He had a cameo. We all knew he would. I think the cameo, it's a little bit of fun. But to me, I'm kind of like, oh, I just would have loved to see him play like a Doctor Strange or Mysterio because he was going to do that in Spider-Man 4 or just something little like that would have been really, really fun. Or he should have been Spider-Man and then they were like, it's Spider-Man, but like he's overweight or whatever. And then he turns around and he shoots webs out of his butt because they set that up at the start, which is like, Spider-Man, does he shoot webs out of his butt? And he's like, God, I hope no. We should have seen that. But, you know, it's just kind of an Evil Dead reference where he's like, punch yourself, and he's like, bang, bang, oh, look, it's my comedic comedy stuff, and it's fun, but I feel like if you don't know Evil Dead, you're like, what is that? And then at the end of the film, because it's like, oh, he's going to do that for 3 weeks, we get a second post-credit scene, and I, for one, I found it kind of funny, but I wanted to do a separate video about the post-credit scene, which I can't do now, because it was nothing. Like, Shirley's throne rocked up, and she's like, I'm purple, and I'm cutting open the multiverse, and you've got to, I don't even remember, it was just nonsense, I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, sure, cool. Set up for maybe something, or they'll abandon it. Who knows? Felt a bit Eternals, where it's like, who the hell is this? Just a famous person in a stupid costume. But the second one, it cuts, and everyone's like, oh, I'm so excited after 10 minutes of credits, and everyone talking about how crazy that movie was, and everyone was like, it's the best thing ever! And other people being like, probably too much for me. What did I just see? But Bruce Campbell, he's punching himself, and then suddenly he's like, oh, it's been 3 weeks, I can stop punching myself now. Then he looks directly at the camera and he's like, leave the cinema, you nerds, you stupid nerds. It's over. Got us. Bloody got us. But, you know what? I think it would have been funny if that's the first time they did this. The most funny one was in Spider-Man Homecoming, where we had shots of Steve Rogers doing like he's like, I'm Steve Rogers, and I'm Captain America, and you're at a school, and I'm telling you a thing about a school. You know what I'm saying? I can't think. Oh my god, my brain is literally just like firing on all cylinders. I can't handle this movie. Was so much. How am I going to go to sleep? I have to go to work in like 5 hours. Oh my god. But yeah, I just feel like, because Captain America, he already did it, where he's like, now guys, it's about patience. And it's like, oh, because we were all being patient, but we wanted a scene, but this is just a joke at our expense. Very funny. Whereas this one was more him just looking at the camera and being like, leave the cinema, you nerd. That's fine, it's funny, but I feel like they've already done that. So maybe just put another scene of crazy madness. Speaking of crazy madness, there is a moment where Doctor Strange, evil Doctor Strange, has another eyeball, and it doesn't visually work at all. It doesn't look positive properly, but I love the insanity balls of it, where they're just like, he's got 3 eyes, and he's like, oh, I'm evil Doctor Strange now. Rubbity-boo! Love it. And at the end of the movie, because Sam Raimi wants to embrace that schlocky B-grade horror film, where at the end of the film there's like, you know, a film about piranhas that are all like fighting little piranhas. At the end, they're like, where's the big papa piranha? And then a big papa piranha suddenly appears in the film, cuts to black, and the main character dies. It's like, oh, shock, horror, oh, twist at the end, you know? Like, they think the killer's dead, then he gets up and he's like, I'm not dead! Cut to black. Whereas in this, normal Doctor Strange, he just suddenly has the third eye, and he's like, bah! Screaming at the camera, and it cuts to black. Madness, insanity. And in the post-credit scene, the one that's setting up whatever the hell, he's still got it, and he's like, I'm ready to jump into this multiverse. Look, I got 3 eyes, I'm crazy. They are totally going to scrap that. The same way that, like, Thor lost his eye, and then the next person's like, no, we want Thor with the eye, so screw your Odin metaphor. No, he's got an eye again. It's coming from, you know, the Rocket Raccoon. He's got one up his butt, so he just puts it in his eye. He didn't wash it. Super gross. I'm still not over that. That's just so gross. So the Illuminati. We got the Illuminati, and it was spectacular. Seeing all those characters there was really, really fun. Boltergus with his stupid fork thingy, and he can't talk, but then they have the sad scene where he talks, and you got the flashback where they're all on Titan, on Thanos' planet. They've killed Thanos, and Xavier's there with his big yellow chair. Stupid, ridiculous, so goofy. Absolutely love that they're just embracing ridiculous comic book characters now, and Boltergus, whatever, Mr. Boltman, you know, who can't talk. And he's like, I'm sorry, Doctor Strange. And he kills Doctor Strange like that. Heartbreaking, amazing, such a good way to show his powers for anyone who didn't watch Inhumans, which is presumably most of the audience in the cinema. We get Mrs. Captain Britain, and she's all like, it's me, look at me go. And we get John Krasinski, the fan casting John Krasinski, and he's like, it's me, Mr. Fantastic, and they're all there. Miss Captain Marvel, who's either from WandaVision or Captain Marvel, things that I didn't love, so don't remember, but she's from one of them, and I can't remember. I was gonna Google it, but this is raw crazy feelings, and I don't have time to look at the YouTubes, because then I'm gonna get lost in I'll just be watching too many videos about Doctor Strange, and other people screaming. I don't have time to watch other people scream about it, I've got to scream about it. Oh boy, this movie. And I love this sequence because it plays as this really fun kind of like, we've got the big best, we've got our own Avengers, but it's the Illuminati and all this stuff, and it hypes it and hypes it and hypes it. But then WandaVision comes and she faces off against all of them, and as she stood there, I'm like, this needs to Rogue One it. Please Rogue One it, but unlike Rogue One, don't have all the characters who I don't care about just die in random, whatever the hell, who cares? You do it with Darth Vader, but in this, Darth Vader is Wanda, and have Wanda kill them all. But the way she kills them all. The idea of matrixing up Mr. Boltagon, who can talk to death and kill you with his speech, to mute his mouth the way like Neo loses his in the Matrix. and then he goes to speak and it backfires and his brains explode. I lost it. The cinema lost it. It was crazy. It was that moment of like, oh my God, they are going there. This film is going to actually go there. Because she killed a lot of random characters, but to have all these big, extra, extended cameo sequences and her kill them all. Like, John Krasinski's all like, look at me, I'm Ultra Loti and I'm Mr. Fantastic. And then she just peels him apart and then his brain pops. Mrs. Captain Britain, she's doing some punching and shielding, and then she gets sliced with her own shield and is like, body decapitated. What do you call it? She's just sliced in half like it's an episode of Game of Thrones. Like, it was crazy. Captain Marvel gets crushed onto some rocks, and then Patrick Stewart, who's he's acting up a storm, he's in the big yellow chair, but then suddenly he's walking, and it's a vision dream, and he's getting inside Wanda's head, to the Wanda that Wanda's possessing, and I love just the style. It's like all white room, like we're in the opposite of, Under the Skin, and it's all white, and she's in this rubble, and she's going to the rubble, and she pokes out, and she's like, horror scare, and then she slips back in, and all the beautiful red mist appears, and then snap neck. Just the visual artistry and just creativity in all of these moments was just exceptional. This is the most vibrant, crazy, insane, just so much going on film I could possibly make. It was so much better than I thought it'd be. The Illuminati scene I thought would be a little cringe. It's like, hey, look at us all, it's the who's who of who's who. But the John Krasinski thing is fun because it's like, hey, we cast that guy you really want us to cast, which means they're definitely not going to cast him in Fantastic Four, which I think is good. Don't give us what we want. We don't know what we want. We think we want him, but he's dead. Good. I'm glad. It was awesome. Oh my God. She wanted to kill so many people. I cannot believe how evil she went. But then I loved how it was just so rooted in character. Like, she's just so broken. And then when she finds out that there's others where she can, grab other kids from all the universes, then she realizes how many multiverses there are. And that all the other Wandas have kids. It's just devastating. I loved it so much. Wong was really, really great in this film. He got a lot of really fun little stuff. Also love that America Chavez, she was just like, she didn't dream. Like, she doesn't dream because she's the only one, because she's so unique and special in the multiverse, and that's why she can kind of travel through it. I think that's why maybe she has that power. So I think that was really fun and interesting. All the cameos were really fun. I'm surprised by how much restraint they had. I kind of almost would have loved them just kind of go a bit crazier, add 15 more minutes and just go madness. I would have watched 4 hours of this film. I feel like the direction and the style and the filmmaking of this film shows so much promise for Marvel. It shows that they're just going to be like, all right, Sam Raimi, have a big magical notes battle, just sure. With this and No Way Home, both doing such crazy different things with the multiverse idea, where the other one's like, look, it's a kind of a nostalgia fest, and, we've got all the Spider-Man all together, and it's kind of wholesome, and, we bring all these things, and this one is like, it's crazy! It almost feels like, one of them's like, look at this neat ball of multiverse, and we're bringing it all together, it's all beautiful, and this one's like, we're gonna tear it apart and rip it to shreds, and we're gonna show you Xavier, we're gonna literally snap his neck! To watch Doctor Strange 1, then just Doctor Strange 2, it's like, what happened in between? I think just as an experience, as a roller coaster ride, as just like an emotional, just like, the way they jump through the multiverses, it's just like so much happening. I really don't care if Doctor Strange doesn't have like a clear, concise A to B to C kind of arc. Like, I really don't think it matters, especially when Wanda does. This is a Tom Cruise's Iron Man cameo away from being just like, perfect? I mean, nothing's perfect, but goddamn, I had so much fun with this absolute insane monster beast madness of a film. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I would love to know what everyone thought of Doctor Strange 2. All big yays, or you're like, what the hell did I just watch?